Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of League Zero, and welcome to this intermediate division match between Engage and the Melbourne Midnights. My name is Acronator. I hope most of you would know me by this point, and I'll be your streamer slash caster for tonight. The only caster, because I felt like solo casting, and this was sort of a last minute decision to get this game streamed so that you all could enjoy it. So bear with me with a little bit of scuffed everything, but isn't that just the spirit of League Zero in a nutshell? Either way, I'm very interested to see what's going on with this game in particular because, you know, Melbourne Midnights had a pretty strong first week showing, but that was against the obviously struggling Louisiana Lobsters. So they're up 3-0 or 3+3 in the map differential and up 1 in the match differential, whereas Engage lost a grueling map 6 to, I believe it was Beach Ball, just a couple days ago, in fact, because that was a rescheduled game. So I think Engage is really trying to prove that the map 6 loss was just, you know, first week jitters. And Midnights, on the other hand, if they're going to be able to claim a victory here, they're almost certainly going to secure themselves a spot in the top 2 going into the first mid-season tournament. In the top 2, for those who aren't aware, get a bye past the quarterfinals and go straight to the semifinals. First place gets a chance to choose their opponents in the semifinals, which is an extremely strong position to be in, especially if Midnights get like a 3-0 here. Then again, they're almost guaranteed. Even if they get swept, they're 1-1 with a 0 map differential, so they're certainly going to be at the very least in the middle of the standings, which I'm sure there's a mid-joke in there somewhere. Either way, Engage, I'm sure, is looking to prove themselves, right? It's really just like the Lobsters and the Midnights in particular that we don't really know where they actually stand, right? Well, maybe the Lobsters, we have some idea, but they've had some shifting around since their most recent game, so who knows if they're any better. But that's not this game. Unfortunately, I don't think that game is actually going to be streamed tonight, so we'll get that VOD up eventually. But for now, I think the Midnights really are going to have to prove themselves, right? They looked good against the Lobsters, but I don't think that was a really tall task at hand. We are getting both teams in the lobby now. Looks like everything is mostly set up. I don't have match chat open just for the stream's purpose, but I would imagine they're pretty much good to go at this point. A lot of familiar names and faces in this lobby from what I'm seeing. A few new faces. In particular, Marlin, Optical Crash, Kareem from Engage on the Midnights, Stratocaster, and LF Goth Girl, as well as Assassin Bolt. Actually, none of them are veterans, but you know, it's like 50-50. People who I'm personally familiar with, and people who are coming probably from like BPL or Flex Cup or any other community. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on there. And I'm just going to unhide match chat real quickly. It looks like everything is pretty much set up, so I think they're just waiting. Lijiang Tower is going to be the first map that was chosen by, I believe, Melbourne Midnights. They won the coin flip a while back. So generally, I like to see Lijiang Tower or Busan. Really, either of those two control maps tend to show us a different variety of styles, right? Not really sure what these teams want to run out with, because of course we've seen them in one game of theirs thus far, but they could be changing things around. I think these are just about the same lineups as we saw for their week 1 appearances, but you know, Midnights might, I think this is actually the exact lineup for Midnights. I don't know if Engage has swapped anything around, not that I can tell, although both teams have a pretty deep bench in the spectators booth from what I'm seeing, so who knows. We're just going to be waiting a few more minutes. I started the stream and started talking, expecting them to get going because everyone was in the lobby. That's why we were on starting soon for so long. Either which way, yeah, I mean, as long as this is a close game, Engage really isn't going to have to worry about their map differential too much. It's really only -1, right? So even if they lose, if they can, you know, lose to like a 3-1 or a 3-2, even their map differential is going to be good enough where they're probably not going to be at the bottom of the standings quite yet, whereas Midnights, even if they lose in a complete sweep, their map differential isn't going to be blown out of the water. Here we go, we're starting. So let's get in the game itself. Here, you can stop looking at my ugly mug and start looking at this beautiful map of Lijiang Tower. Engage on the left, Melbourne on the right. We're going to be starting on Gardens here. The map, the sub-map that people often forget the name of, but it is Gardens. In the past, I've seen a good amount of Shadow Dive or Six-Man, whatever you want to call it. Not sure if these teams want to run that. Wrecking Ball compositions are also quite popular, but now immediately they go to the Shadow Dive here. Not too surprising, it is a very viable comp for this map, so you just kind of expect the intermediate level teams to play it. You know, advanced is where you start to see more of that experimentation or just picking the comfort picks. We have a few more seconds here before the gates open up, and it's really going to be interesting to see if either of these Lucios decide to go for the meme rollout. It looks like Stratocaster might actually be going for it. No, okay, they're sticking with their team, and yeah, it looks like Kareem did the same. So just have a little bit of poke damage here as both Winston get up in each other's faces. Knocked, aka Monty, getting up into Marlon's face, doing a lot of damage. Marlon's bubble bursts down immediately, but it doesn't really look like anyone's taking too much damage. As I say that, though, Epic Shot getting very low, dangerously so. Hiding around that pillar, but it looks like Engage wants to press that advantage. Both Winston bubbles out again. No one falling quite yet, but finally Optical Crash finds that first pick. And without that main tank, it's really going to be on Melbourne. Midnight's to back up. Early Coalescence from Goth Girl. Looking for something here, but they're not really getting much. They've already lost their main tank and effectively their Diva as well out of mech. Now the return Coalescence from Zimziv, allowing them to press that advantage even further. Engage probably didn't even need that, but it's going to help them hold on to the point even longer as Kareem gets squished back to spawn, but it's okay because Engage still win that first fight pretty handily with really only Coalescence invested. They have 5 other ultimates. Juicebox, the only one who's not quite there yet, but by the time that Melbourne comes back, they're going to be able to build that one up. Early Engage already. Their namesake Death Blossom EMP, but Matson falls for it. They don't find any picks. Marlon actually falling in the meantime. Very late beat. Couldn't save Marlon when they probably could have just a few seconds earlier. But yeah, that's a bit of a whiff there from Engage. They're going to have to back up and just give the point over to the Melbourne Midnights. But that's a pretty good first fight at the end of the day. Actually, they're still stalling. Now, they want to push their control percentage as far as humanly possible, but yeah, finally at a 54% with minimal ultimates invested by the Midnights, they actually managed to capture control of the points and start their progression. Already we have a little bit of a poke phase. EMP bomb coming in will find Kareem and immediately Engage just gets wiped off the face of the map. They're going to be forced back to their spawn, and Midnights are going to be able to push their advantage just a little bit further. The next fight is going to be evening out the control percentage, but neither team has a ton of ultimates, right? You still have the tanks on the side of Engage getting ready for something. It looks like Marlon wants to invest his Primal Rage here, getting rather low. Bomb Primal Rage coming out, but the Primal Rage boops everyone away from the bomb's line of sight. Optical Crash finding Epic Shock is a good opening to this fight. However, doesn't even matter if Marlon is off on his own doing awkward things with the Primal Rage, because the rest of Melbourne Midnights are just getting cleaned up by Engage. You do have Laser trying to make something out of this stall. They will get it up to about 60-ish%, but yeah, Laser has to get out of there. Actually, no, they're still stalling just a little bit, taking turns. This is a very coordinated stall to their credit. They're going to actually get an extra 10% just about out of that, but they will have to give it up eventually. So at the very least, there is that. And we will have the Engage picking up the control once again. They do have the EMP Blossom. Knocked, aka Mani, coming up onto his own Blossom, but not quite there yet. Might be able to build up to it soon, but the ultimates are relatively even for both of these teams. Ironically, on the exact same ultimates as well, you have EMP coming out, but Mani gets taken out by Juicebox. I'm not sure how that works. EMP completely dry coming in. Zimsif investing the Coalescence to find some offensive value. Optical Crash looking for something. Won't really find much outside of Assassin Bolts, but it doesn't really matter because Engage is already on Final Fight. They can just invest their ultimates left and right. We have Epic Shock trying to make something out of a bad situation with his Primal Rage. Not really doing too much outside of looping Optical Crash into the Death Blossom from Mani. But it doesn't really matter. It's just a few stragglers trying to hold on to this Garden Zone round. Juicebox not really, or sorry, no, Laser not really be able to find much there as Juicebox intercepts him. The bomb coming in just to clear anything up. EMP from Laser will find a lot of members, but there's no follow-up. There's just no one here from Melbourne able to do much, and yeah, that's just Optical Crash staying alive, and that's a lot of damage on the points. There's not much else they can do. And yep, that's going to be first round for Engage. Not a bad showing from the Melbourne Midnights, however. Not bad whatsoever. And it's going to be either Control Center or Night Market. It looks like it's going to be Night Market for this next round. I would be shocked to see the exact same Shadow Dive composition come out from either of these teams. We have a little bit of a teasing of a Wrecking Ball composition from Engage over here. And actually the same style of Wrecking Ball composition from Melbourne, except with the Sigma variant. A little bit of a difference here between the two, mainly that the Diva has to play a little bit faster in order to get that value, right? Whereas the Sigma wants to play further back and poke a bit further out, but otherwise they're relatively similar. It's not quite like the Zarya composition where they want to be in your faces 24/7 with the Zarya Wrecking Ball. A little bit of a flank here from Midnights, but Matson will actually win out that Pharah duel really early on, looking to close out the duo there. Stratocaster stood no chance, tried to get away, but Matson just the superior Pharah in that opening fight, and that will give Engage the advantage for the first capture. You're going to have Mani on the Sombra, trying to make something out of it, get a little bit closer to that EMP charge, but you're having a few swaps now come in. Assassin Bolt actually getting off of the Sigma, and Engage are just pressing their advantage. There's really not much more that Midnights can do. They're going to have to take a harder reset. Fortunately for them, the points really hasn't ticked up very far quite yet. We're not even quite 20%, and now we are. Just a lot of poke coming in from Optical Crash and Matson in particular. You can see they're already so dangerously close to their ultimates, that Rocket Barrage in particular. Oh dear, Epic Shock getting dangerously low. I don't think he'll survive, gets the Mega just in time, but will it really matter? Recall forced out, but yeah, Matson's there to clean up, and that is just a great duo there from Optical Crash and Matson. You have to imagine that was communicated. And yeah, they're just not able to set up. The Midnights aren't. There's just not much that they can do. Casting a Lone Pixel Storm, well actually that was by my choice because I didn't feel like doing the official casting duo. I probably could have guilted Corbs into doing this with me, but it's more fun to do it alone every now and then. Show them what a real caster can do. Either way, narcissism aside, you have the Nano Boost on Matson. Just been a menace without it, so I can't imagine what he's going to do with it. Noct getting dangerously low. Will manage to survive, but I mean, they're caught in this tiny little room. Assassin Bolt emptied, and there's just not much they can do. Juicebox getting a little bit too close to the danger zone in that room and gets melted for it. The hack coming in onto Matson, but he's more than safe in this positioning. And we're now into one-fight territory. The Midnights have not touched point until right now. The Transcendence being forced out. Laser finding two with the Pulse Bomb. Follow up onto the Wrecking Ball as well. Matson is not looking very hot right now. Very low HP. The Mega wasn't there. And finally, at 99%, the Melbourne Midnights are taking this massive uphill battle just to stay in this first map. All Engage needs is one clean fight. And this is exactly what the Midnights did not want coming into this series, right? They didn't want to be on the back foot. After getting a very clean 3-0 against the Lobsters, they wanted to secure that dominance, right, against the rest of their division, but already you have the Midnights coming in, asserting said dominance, but they let the point flip over. Now you have Engage, who's going to be very strong at this stall game, trying to make something out of this. The bombs getting people off of point, finding two. How do you let that happen? Juicebox is gone, but it doesn't matter if Engage is able to stall any longer. Doesn't look like they will be able to. It's just a Far Mercy and they can't touch, but that got way too dicey in favor of Engage there. Juicebox probably laughing at that one. And already you can see the difference in the amount of deaths on the side of Melbourne Midnights compared to Engage. They have quite a few more, pretty much all around. But other than that, it's really the only stat that I'm seeing. Otherwise, you just have Mattson hunting for his prey. Laser wasn't quite in his sights, but Mani finding Optical Crash. But the favor is returned. Barrage coming in does not work out the way he had intended. Kareem will get that resurrection, playing dangerously close to the edge there. Don't fall off to their own deaths, but it feels like Engage is getting a little bit sloppy with the engagements here. It's really just Mattson trying their darndest to make something out of it. With the nano boost on it, that might be all they need. Mani's still coming in clutch, but not enough. Juicebox finding the kill before the High Noon could come in. Kareem, the other half of the Far Mercy we can't see on camera, falling to the bomb. Assassin Bolt, the other diva, both divas in this match, coming in clutch for their teams when they need it most. And we're now getting into one fight territory for Melbourne Midnights. A little bit of a rough start to this round, but now you have Mattson even swapping off of that soldier. Kareem going over to Lucio just to touch. They need the touch. Can they? I don't know if they can. Kareem desperately trying. 98, 99, the stall comes in. I believe someone else got the touch, probably Optical Crash. Juicebox does have this bomb, but he's just coming back to point, tosses it in, threads the needle into the points, won't find anything. But it does look like Engage are finding the kills necessary. It's really just a few members on the point, specifically Assassin Bolt out of mech and LF Gothro, and alone Zenyatta can only do so much. This might be, despite the valiant efforts of Melbourne Midnights, not enough. And Engage will walk away with that first map win. Tragic for the Melbourne Midnights, but I mean, they definitely showed up when it mattered. Just not quite enough. They need to put themselves in a better position. And Laser getting the EMP for the play of the game with the meme highlight reel. Gotta love it. Either way, felt rather close on that second round and somewhat close on that first round. Overall, I think the series could be pretty darn close as long as the Midnights can play more like the latter half of that night market. And less like the first half, right? Bringing it to that overtime 99-99. They almost had it, but I think they just lost their composure at the final fight there. So, oh well, you know, Engage just had a little bit more clutch in them. Either way, that will be Engage up 1-0. Still at least 2 more maps in this series. But I think we're seeing some bright spots from both of these teams, as well as, you know, dark spots here and there. A few missed ultimates, mistimed re-engages, but, you know, it's intermediate. It's gonna happen. Either way, I should unmute match chat just to see. I don't know what the map pick is going to be. It's going to be a hybrid, of course, is the map type. I would almost expect King's Row just because that's so common, and sure enough, yeah, King's Row. My microphone is literally blocking match chat, so if you see me having to duck and weave, that's why. Either way, King's Row is going to be that next map. Not too surprising, I guess, because that's just the most popular map in the game. Thank you, Aaron Keller, for that one. For those who are unaware, he's known as the map guy at Blizzard. He's made multiple of the most famous maps in, or like cities in World of Warcraft and maps in Overwatch, including King's Row. So now he's the game director. Hopefully isn't working on maps because he has bigger uses of his time. Either way, just going to be waiting on these teams to give the R, but of course they have some time. Time for us to chat. Of course, we're on a 3-minute delay to give these teams a little bit of a fair shot. No accusations of stream sniping, or I guess ghosting, it would be called. Either way. But I mean, hey, if you want to talk and chat, I actually have a chat extension on my OBS, so I can at least see it and respond 3 minutes in the future from when you're watching this. Either way, waiting for Just going to give them the fact that the production crew is ready, aka me. It's just me here. So I'm going to be interested to see. We didn't really see any Reinhardt play from either of these teams over the course of Lijiang Tower. Of course, if we had gone to Control Center, maybe that'd be different, right? I know Epic Shock has been extremely proficient at the Reinhardt in the past, especially in past seasons. I'm thinking Season 4, Season 3's coming and just been one of the best Reinhardts in the entire league, or in that division, I should say. And I don't know Marlon, right? I don't believe they've competed in past seasons, or if they have, I don't know if they started. I don't think they have ever gone by a different name. They're probably just someone from Bed Pachamari League, or like Flux Cop or Trank or somewhere like that, if I had to guess. So I'll be interested to see how that lineup works. As for, like, you know, everyone else, we've actually seen more or less them on various Brawl-esque heroes. You know, we've seen the Lucio, we've seen the Annas, we've seen the Moiras and whatnot. We've seen a little bit of the Cassidy. Almost got the name mixed up. It's forever just going to bug me after, you know, like, what, 5.5 years? But either way, I think the one thing we haven't seen outside of that Reinhardt pick is the Mei, potentially. Of course, they don't have to run the Mei. We've seen a little bit of like the Genji recently. We've seen a little bit of like Echo, potentially, or maybe even just the Tracer, which we saw plenty of in Lijiang. So who's to say? Either way, I think the bright spots in both of these teams that I've seen thus far has definitely been the off-tank players. Juicebox and Assassin Bolt have definitely looked pretty darn good. It looks like Engage is going to be opting to defend for the first round. Not too surprising, I guess. Most teams like to defend first. Just gets things moving along faster. Of course, that means they have to swap the lobby, swap the name, swap the spectators, which they're in the process of right now. Poor Drowsy, but such is the life of the lobby host. Very glad I don't have to do that while streaming and solo casting again. I never want to go back to Season 3 in that regard, but otherwise that was a pretty good season. But we're not in Season 3, we're in Season 5 right now. And these teams are not quite neck and neck, of course. Engage up 1-0, first to 3 overall in the series. And I'm not exactly sure how the other game is going. I can actually pull that up on my Twitch while I'm here, just to give you all an update if you're just watching this stream and not the other one on the main channel. Looks like they're going to be going into the map as I load up the other stream on my phone. That'll take a minute, so let me just get things set up here so that you can see that. There we are. King's Row. Engage on the defense first, as you can see. Melbourne on the left this time. Engage on the right. Right? Yeah. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Engage opted to attack first, not defend. Right. Got it mixed up. Either way, interesting to see that. They must be feeling the momentum. I have coached and been on teams that like to attack first. So, not too surprising, I guess. If they're really feeling it, you know, they feel like they're confident in their attempts to to roll over Melbourne. They certainly did for at least a small portion of Lijiang Tower. Be interesting to see if they can do the same here. Pretty stereotypical Brawl composition on the defense for Melbourne Midnights, minus the Doomfist. That's a little bit of a niche pick, but Engage sticking with this Pharah. Madsen seems to really like it. Be interesting to see how the Midnights decide to play around Madsen. Because they're on the defense, it's going to be difficult for them to deal with the aerial menace. They're not really going to have anyone outside of maybe Assassin Bolts to do the dirty work there and deal with the Pharah. They just don't have anyone to hit those shots. And yeah, sure enough, that is going to be the first sign of weakness against the aerial menace, as Mani, aka Noct, goes down first in this fight. Not too surprising, as Madsen just flying free, hasn't really even taken that much damage outside of whatever Assassin Bolt can pump into him. But otherwise, that's going to be Stratocaster sent back to spawn. Epic Shock soon to follow. And that's going to be a really quick first point. You have Laser with the Wraith Walk trying to stall just a little bit, but it's not going to be for more than a few seconds. Anti-nated and just deleted out of the server. Pretty bad stall there. Mani back on the Sombra. I'm not sure about the Sombra pick. Okay, Laser now on to the Cassidy. That makes a lot more sense. The Sombra not terrible either. Can threaten the Pharah, maybe the Mercy, or even Juicebox on that Diva a little bit. Help them keep things rolling and put just a little bit of awkward pressure on to engage. But for now, the cart's rolling quite cleanly through this Streets phase. They only have one person on it, but I mean, they're just putting so much pressure on engage. Marlon will fall rather early, and Mattson getting taken down by a Rhinehammer of all things. Who needs a Cassidy? Oh dear, Epic Shock getting slept, and no one actually opting to wake him up. Anti-nated and has to back up. They're trying to build up to that shatter, but not given the chance. Optical Crash threading the needle through and through. The Nano Boost now on to Mattson, looking for something, but stunned, hacked, nanoed, basically every status effect in the book, good and bad, and stuck on the ground. Oh dear, but that was a nice direct shot onto Mani. And despite all their best efforts, it just wasn't enough. And Melbourne Midnights are still on the back foot. They have about 4 minutes and 10 seconds now to get the cart to second point. And Engage are just rolling on through. They don't need anyone else in the cart. They just need one person. They have so many ultimates. They haven't even needed to use this barrage. They've had the Diva Bomb from Juicebox forever, and Epic Shock is just now getting up to his shatter. High Noon coming in will not find anything, and in fact Mattson is the one who's going to find Mani. Beat coming in, but perhaps a bit too late. A lot of ultimates being invested by the offense here. Really only finding one person until Juicebox gets another big squish. And the cart's just rolling on through. It was getting dicey there for a moment, but they're back to square one. The defenses, as Engage, are just rolling on through. This is not looking very pretty for the team that going into this week was at the very top of the standings. Now, of course, small sample size and all, and strength of schedule to be argued, but I mean, this is not the start that Melbourne Midnights wanted to this series. It's certainly not over. Hell, this map isn't even over. They're only down by one, but it's looking pretty darn good. Optical Crash in the backline. Didn't even see him over there. Apparently neither did Laser, the Widowmaker pick, not really doing that well for him, as Optical doesn't even get punished for that. Big EMP coming in, hitting 5, but only Zimzit falling. There we go, Optical Crash. Now the follow-up is coming in, with basically everyone on Midnights pressing the W key. Will find a DMech, Stratocaster, and Mani falling to Mattson. Made the swap over to the Ashe. Extremely flexible DPS player there. Playing Projectile and Hit Scan in the exact same round, let alone map or series. And now might be the time to put a damper on the offense's push, as they don't have any ultimates. They do have the Pulse Bomb, but Optical Crash doesn't find anything from it. Has to get out before they fall too low. Assassin Bolt does have that Diva Bomb, so they can toss that in to zone things out. Looks like they're more keen on clearing out this little hallway. Mattson is certainly going to die here with Kareem falling just prior. The squish coming in, Optical Crash not allowing it to happen, but they certainly aren't getting any progress. And yep, sure enough, with the DMech onto Juicebox from Mani over, I'm assuming, towards their spawn, possibly, who knows. Either way, now we're starting to see a little bit of a turning of the tides. Kareem off of that Lucio and over to the Brigitte will allow for a little bit more sustain. You don't really need them, or no, he wasn't even on Lucio, he was on Mercy. But allows for a little bit more AoE heals in these scrappier close quarters fights. Maybe help them deal with Mani in the backline as well. Early minefield coming in, kind of splits the team, but Mattson is going to be the one to find that first pick. Tossing in the Bob just to put pressure on the cart. They have to do something about the presence, even if they sleep the damage away. I think Mattson just free firing here up on the high ground. No one's really dealing with him as Laser is already been felled earlier in the fight. Optical Crash looking for yet another Pulse Bomb. He's building these up so incredibly fast. That's his 4th Pulse Bomb. And I believe the Diva ultimates are a little bit bugged in this thing where the remake counts as ultimate use as well, so don't take that one from Juicebox. I don't think he's had 7 bombs, but Optical Crash has certainly had 4 Pulse Bombs. Looking to pressure out Stratocaster here, not quite finding the tracking necessary, but they don't touch in the chaos! Oh no! Too much pressure on Stratocaster, and I'm guessing he was the one who had to touch. Not quite the 5-minute time bank they came in with, but almost 2 minutes is a scary time bank to have captured the entirety of King's Row on. This is looking really good for Engage, and I can see why they wanted to attack first. As the camera moseys on over to the first points once again. Through walls, apparently. I'm not doing that. I just pressed a hotkey that sends it over to the objective. There we go, and it's now going to be on Melbourne Midnights to not only complete the map, but they have to complete it with time. If they don't complete it with time, but they do complete it, then it's a tie or lose scenario, and obviously if they don't complete it, then they just lose the map and they're down 2-0, which is not a very ideal position for them to be in. They're going to have to come up with something because Engage just hasn't been threatened. Mattson in particular is really popping off this map. Like, he was doing good in Lijiang, but he's completely uncontested here in King's Row, and that's a dangerous place to be in if you're playing the Pharah and the Ashe. Laser here on the Widowmaker, probably just for a quick peek. And actually, over to the Tracer now. Mani trying out the Pharah of his own, maybe making something of it, but they're going to have to either win the 1v1 or completely ignore the 1v1 and just get more damage in onto Engage's team as a whole. That's going to be rough with both teams playing the Wrecking Ball, not even bothering with the Reinhardt pick here. Having a lot of damage coming in onto the Midnight's core. Laser and Assassin Bolt in particular getting dangerously low, but Zimzif will be the first to fall. Assassin Bolt's mech soon to follow. Kareem taking a direct rocket from Mani, taking down both the Pharah and the Mercy. It's so difficult to hit those shots, but he does so with ease, and that's likely going to be at least 2 ticks for Melbourne. Despite taking a lot of damage throughout that fight, they will be able to secure probably all 3 ticks now with these staggers coming in. Mattson can certainly try to re-engage, but yeah, they're not even going to be able to touch, and that's quite the demanding time bank. Neither of these teams know how to defend, apparently, as the card's going to keep on rolling forward, but a little bit slower on the uptick there. Oh dear, we have Goth Girl finding that pick with the help of Mattson and Stratocaster, or sorry, with the help of Noct and Stratocaster. Mattson is the one sent back to spawn. And the card is slowly moving on forward. Quite an aggressive push. Oh dear, Goth Girl, please. They have families, but that doesn't matter when you're trying to push the cart, as it's basically a similar pace as to what Engage had. Except now they have 3 people on the cart. I think they want to get a little bit faster of a pace, not allow Engage to get too many recontests, but of course that gives them a lot of space to set up here in this final turn. Assassin Bolt pushing up just a little bit. But Engage does have quite a few ultimates. I'll be interested to see. I would expect the Nano Boost from Goth Girl to come out first. Probably onto Laser or Mani. Although there's no LOS. Nope, actually it's Mattson who gets the first Nano. Attempted sleep coming in, but the peel is good. But the Defense Matrix only lasts for so long. Mattson finding that pick. But Mani actually returning the favor in the exact same way. Epic Shock will find Optical Crash, who is on the flank, and now they're pressuring out Marlon, who does have the minefield, but I'm not sure if he's going to find a chance to use it. It's actually going to be Epic Shock's minefield coming out, and the man is not just a god on Reinhardt, he's doing quite well on the Wrecking Ball as well. They won't be able to deny that res. A lot of pressure coming in, and they still have plenty of time. The card slowly eking out between contested moments. Melbourne does not want to give this up. The bomb coming in will not find anyone. but it does force a little bit of a zone in their favor. Laser far in the backline, looking for God knows what, probably Zimzif. Yep, he's looking for Zimzif. The Sleep Dart, perhaps, is not available. Now it certainly is not, but Laser not quite finding what he needs as, yeah, there's just too much protection from Marlin onto Zimzif, and it looks like the rest of Melbourne are backing up. Laser on his own and certainly is going to fall or be forced out. Sleep 8 up from Goth Girl. Being pressured down. Is there any peel? Not quite. No, Madsen will find that pick. The res is not denied, but they trade out one support for another side of Melbourne, and this is getting rather scrappy. The time bank is slipping away from them, and while they still have time, they need to be a little bit more careful. They C9'd! I don't know how much of a C9 that really is, but there were people alive and available, so we're going to call that at least a half C9. Beautiful play there from Epic Shock. And, well, it's still not quite the time bank that Engage had. It's still pretty gnarly. They have about a minute to match Engage's total time bank and plenty of time before it gets into a draw or lose scenario for them. The barrage coming in from Matt's a nano barrage even, and it looks like they wanted to stop the momentum rather early, trying to find a pick onto the supports here, but she just kind of gives up on Goth Girl, which is funny because we were watching his perspective. We know for a fact Madsen knew where Goth Girl went. Marlin is very much in danger and might get out, but it's going to take quite a bit of a roundabout way, which is essentially creating a 5v6. Marlin looking for the health packs, getting caught out, will not make it back to the team, so now it's a literal 5v6. Juicebox is the only tank available, with Kareem getting dangerously low, has the Valkyrie, but doesn't want to invest it quite yet. And we have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to ultimates here on the side of Melbourne on this offense. Don't do it to him. You have a barrage coming in. Will only find Zimzif right next to their spawn, so I'm not sure if Kareem really wants to use the res there. Getting a little bit scrappy. Gonna have to back out. And that will more than likely be a reset for Melbourne, so it looks like everyone's just trying to get out. Yep, sure enough, Assassin Bolts just has to back up, and the cart getting close. But they only have a little bit longer to match Engage's time. Again, they have to capture with time if they want to have a chance to win this map. DPS swaps coming in for the offense. Now on Sombra and Ashe, respectively, will be pretty good at pressuring out the DPS for Engage. Wow, that was a nice anti-nade up onto the ceiling, it looks like, and Marlin and Madsen both getting punished out. Juicebox forcing out the bomb, will not find anything, but at the very least did find Goth Girl. Forced out the res, that's a cooldown that Melbourne no longer has, but they do have more people alive and ready to contest this point. Optical Crash has the attack visor, but was taken out before it was really able to be used. Madsen looking for this nano barrage. Will find 2 with it. And assist with at least one more. It's now impossible for Melbourne to have a better time than Engage. But at the very least, they can still capture with time. They have plenty of ultimates, and in fact have been playing that ult economy much better this fight. But it's really going to be on them to close it out, which is something they struggled on for Lijiang Tower, specifically on that night market round that went 99 to 99. 1 minute in counting. It's do or die for the Melbourne Midnights if they don't want to go down in the series even further and give Engage match point money. What was that flick? They technically have the Resurrect up, but they don't want to risk it. The bomb EMP combo coming in, but it's not going to find much. The optical crash attack visor coming in, but it is going to get mostly denied. Assassin Bolt's bomb will find Juicebox. Not really finding much in favor of the soldier here, getting pressured down by Mani on the high ground, who is also pocketed. Mani actually finding more value here. And it looks like they will be able to eke out capture of the map with time to spare, as long as they can clear off the Wrecking Ball in just a few seconds time. 8, 7, 6, 5.3 meters to go. The stall is good. Will they be able to get it out of overtime? No, they will not. So it's a draw or lose scenario by what felt like half a second. Tragedy for Melbourne, but at the very least they can try and stick it to Engage and force a draw, but avoiding giving up one tick on first point with nearly 2 minutes is not an easy task. This is going to be a rather desperate defense. I would not blame them for opting away from that Wrecking Ball composition, perhaps trying something along the lines of double shield with like a BAP Mercy and potentially like a, who knows, perhaps a Bastion Torbjorn or something along those lines. But no, they actually are going to be running out on the Wrecking Ball. Remember, they're really not going to have the luxury of swapping, so that is a bit dangerous for them. Either way, someone is pinging me on Discord, as if I could watch. Thank you, Rockcrafts, for talking about Trekmania in general chat and pinging me for some reason. Either way, do or die here for Melbourne. Neither of these teams have been very good at defending, so I have my fears. The Symmetra from Optical Crash, will they be sticking on it? Potentially so. It looks like they will not. It was just to give Zimziv this better high ground. Epic Shock getting swept up, but it's actually going to be Matson taken down first. Zimziv getting pressured out by Mani, but he survives with 10 HP. This is looking good for Melbourne. They're taking the aggression here that they need to, and this is actually how these compositions are supposed to work with the Wrecking Ball. You take the engagements when your opponents are rotating. Normally, it's not played properly at intermediate level, which is funny because this intermediate division is much higher level than intermediates of divisions past, but still, you don't usually see that until you get to like the advanced level, you know, mid to high GM. But they're doing pretty good so far. They need to hold that for another minute, and especially Mani needs to stay alive for this entire fight. Marlon getting dangerously low, as well as Kareem taking a bit of poke, but he's not so much in the danger zone. Epic Shock looking for some juicy pile drives here. The stun from Kareem not really finding anything. Epic Shock doing a lot of damage, but they need to run back to point, or roll back to point, rather. Matson will find a pick onto Mani finally, but Mani will get back to point rather quickly, as well as Goth Girl having that nano boost, probably for Epic Shock or Assassin Bolt if need be. So they have that ready. This is final fight territory. Minefield coming in from Epic Shock completely sections off that hotel. And Marlon learned the hard way that there is very limited space to work there. Nano boost onto Assassin Bolt. Doesn't want to use the bomb right now, but they're actually finding the picks. Will they be able to deny Engage the match points? On to overtime now. The bomb on the point just to prevent anyone from touching an Optical Crash was not behind safety as they so thought. They will be able to get that touch, but the kills are coming in favor of Melbourne for now. But the rally coming in for Kareem, the mines coming in for Marlon. This is getting dicey. They need the touch. They need to force their way through the damage field. Assassin Bolt and Epic Shock now out of the fight. They don't have tanks. Everyone's falling, and Engage will take King's Row at the very final hour. Again, very dicey to that final fight. But Engage just has these better, the better lead-ups to those fights. They're more clutch, and they falter a little bit, but Melbourne falters more. There we have Juicebox with the squish. We saw that from, I believe, Goth Girl's perspective before. That is going to be Engage now. On match point. Terrifying stuff if you're a fan of Melbourne Midnights, but they're not out of it yet. Reverse sweep incoming, possibly. Find out after this break as we go and let the teams take a bit of a breather before we head into map 3. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the third map of this series against Engage versus Melbourne Midnights. Engage, of course, on match point already. And Melbourne has opted to take them to Route 66. Not quite the most common map here in the pool, and it will be interesting to see what Engage decides to pull. Obviously, I think the team names are backwards because I know for a fact Juicebox is on, like I know Engage is on the defense here. So the team names that you can see above their name right there is incorrect, but everything else in the stream graphics is in fact correct. So don't mind that one either way. We have Melbourne with the Wrecking Ball composition, and Engage actually opting to play a dive here. A little bit of a pokey dive with the Ash and the Tracer, but a dive nonetheless. Normally you'd see something like a double shield, especially at this level of play, but they must have some confidence in what they're doing. Nice denial of the dive there from Assassin Bolts. Marlon caught down on the low ground and has to waddle his way up to the high ground to face the D.Va, taking a lot of damage in the process, however. A little bit of an Ash duel coming back and forth, and Mattson working his way back up. Laser with the pocket will find his counterpart, and the kills are coming flooding in. Melbourne Midnights. Oh, Laser! He was just trying to say hi, and you shot him in the face. How cruel. Truly an unjust world we live in. But that's going to be a rather quick take from Melbourne. I get the feeling they've practiced this map as sort of like a pocket pick, right? They can take their opponents to this if they're down and out to claw their way back, potentially start a reverse sweep, because that was a clean first point. First point, Route 66 is never that easy. Optical Crash trying, but failing horribly to track. It happens to the best of us, mate, and that is 10 times better than what I could do. Laser, once again, finding their counterpart, is really feeling it here on the Ash, taking down Optical Crash to half HP, forcing the recall and a Nano Mercy on Stratocaster. Something tells me that was not the plan, but it worked out in the end because they won the fight. See? That is how this all works. I don't know.
I agree.
No, go away. We're in the middle of a cast. By Corpse. I think that was Corpse. Where was I? Yes, anyways. Midnights, apparently it's all in the name, the lobby name, not the actual name. Because Midnights are just dominating here. You have the Bob putting pressure on the high ground, getting booped off, still on the high ground awkwardly for Engage. It's going to be so difficult for them to find anything there with the Bob denying them. Optical Crash in the backline will find Gothgirl, but that's the only kill that Engage is finding in this fight. The res coming in, but it's a Valking Mercy, which is basically impossible to hit. And, yeah, I mean, Optical Crash can try their darndest to stall along with Kareem, but there's only so much they can do. The damage is just immense. Coming in, Laser coming alive. That is an unreal amount of damage. Laser is leading the lobby. In fact, they have almost half of their team's kills, from what I'm seeing. Because the tanks also have 5 by themselves, and Mani has 2, and Stratocaster has a kill even. So, but Laser is dangerously close to pulling off a Fleta deadlift here, which is insane. You don't normally see that from an Ashe player. Mattson, in a very awkward, please, Laser, please. This is just, this is highway robbery at this point. What is going on? This shouldn't be happening. This is unreal, and he hasn't even used the Bob. There we go, it's coming in. Getting a little bit awkward here for Midnights. Finally, the momentum has stopped with the spawn advantage evening out a little bit. And Marlin finding a few good picks there. Looking for a stagger, but I don't think you're going to find it there, buddy. So he has to back out. Minefield invested, so they won't have that. And honestly, outside of the Transcendence and the attack visor from Optical Crash, Engage are looking a little bit anemic. They used everything to stop that push. And I mean, Melbourne Midnights, while they lost the immediate momentum, let's not forget that they built it up multiple times now. So who's to say they're not going to find it? Once again, Mani going toe-to-toe with Matson now on the Tracer. Neither really finding too much. Optical Crash dangerously low. Well below 20 HP, and he needs to survive in order to get value out of this attack visor. But Mani just harassing him non-stop. Doesn't get the chance to exist in this lobby. Go home, please, and thank you. Mani coming alive as well, saying, hey, Laser's not the only DPS on this team. The Nano Boost only helping the matter. And they still have above 3 minutes to push this point. Melbourne Midnights, I don't know what happened. That bathroom break did wonders for them, apparently, between maps 2 and 3. They didn't even need the pulse bomb. He's just chilling, pumping in damage. The supports on Engage are locked into this tiny little corner. The pulse bomb coming in, really only going to zone them away, but it's okay because their team doesn't have supports. They're effectively out of the fight, and Laser can clean up the rest. Looks like there's a few picks coming in. Assassin Bolt looking for the bomb. Finally, Optical Crash gets the chance to use the attack visor, but he's slept before he gets to use anything of it. He really only gets about a 1 second there, and it's all eaten up by Assassin Bolts. He's not allowed to exist in this lobby. Go home, good sir. The Bob coming in to make it that much more difficult. This is unreal. This is a different team than what we've been seeing from map 1 and 2. This should be illegal, but I'm so glad it's not, as Matson doesn't get the chance to touch through the minefield in 2 minutes and 4 seconds on the clock. Let's hope that Melbourne has cleaned up their defense as well, because that was a different kind of dominant. That was just stellar play, in all honesty, specifically from the DPS, but in all honesty, that was just great team play all around from Melbourne. Where was this team the first 2 maps? Because they came in clutch in a lot of hairy situations where Engage had that respawn advantage, and it just didn't matter. They finished the map with plenty of time. And I think Engage kind of have to put the pedal to the metal now. Right? They've been playing really good in the first 2 maps, allowed it to get a little bit dicey, struggled on the defense, sure, but never quite that hard. And of course this was Melbourne's map pick, and an unorthodox pick. Right? I'd say this is probably the least played of the 3 escort maps we have. Rialto being the more common one, and I forget the other one, I think it might be Dorado? Or, no, it's Gibraltar is the other one, and Gibraltar is more common than Route 66. It's pretty rare to see this map, despite the fact that I personally love it. A lot of healthy verticality, without being a bit too much, as opposed to something like Circuit Royale that we've seen in Overwatch 2. But now, it is Engage's turn to clap back, if they dare. A bit of an early poke coming in from Epic Shock on that Wrecking Ball. Looking to prevent too much high ground advantage for the offense. Marlin looking to do the same for the defense. Epic Shock taking quite a lot of damage, is going to have to back out, but does so rather fast. Never really gets into that red zone of too little health. Mani coming in with Epic Shock for the dive, but they're both getting a little bit low. Optical Crash now on the Ashe. We're going to ignore that Dynamite and just enjoy the fact that he managed to win that 1v1 against Laser. Is now coming back. I don't believe the res came in from Stratocaster. I didn't see it in the kill feed. Either way, picks coming in. Both flex supports now out of the fight. But Optical Crash being harassed by Epic Shock and Mani respectively. The res coming in for Goth Girl. So now the defense has both supports, but I'm not sure that matters when the Tracer is just out of this fight. The Ashes are really stepping up this map. Oh, but you can't stay in line of sight like that for too long against Laser, not when he's been this hot. You gotta be careful with that, especially with the Bob now in play. You can see the line of sight Denial that much better. On the side of Laser, the Valkyrie coming in from Kareem, but it's not really doing too much as Engage just aren't pushing that advantage. They aren't engaging, pun intended. And I mean, just look at the ultimates on the side of Melbourne. They have so much, and they've been keeping a relatively clean, dry fight. I mean, they use the Pulse Bomb, sure, but is that really an ultimate compared to just a strong cooldown? Bob coming in from Optical Crash, tossed onto the point in the hopes of putting a little bit of pressure there. Stratocaster getting dangerously low from the Dynamite, but won't fall. The Epic Shock reaping the benefits of that Nano. Laser just cleaning up house, and Madsen can only do so much, especially with Monty coming alive on this Tracer. I don't know where these players were the last couple maps. It's like an entirely different team. Now, the one good thing for Engage here is that they do have, finally, an ultimate advantage. But they have a minute 30, and this is a very stallable point. Minefield coming in, but it really only takes Assassin Bolt down a little bit, and he's going to be healed back up, giving Stratocaster in particular quite a lot of ult charge. The bomb coming in will find 3 plus a Bob. Juicebox pulls out another miracle from his hat. The Italian Menace. And that's going to be first point on the back of that bomb. I don't know if they win that point otherwise. It was getting dangerous. But I mean, it's only going to get harder from here. And they have to capture the entire map. Not necessarily with time, but they want to do it with time. Because otherwise they're giving Melbourne 3 minutes to do whatever they can do on the extra rounds in just 1 minute if they capture with none. Already the high ground being claimed by Melbourne. And there's not much that Engage can do to dislodge them without a hero play, but it's Monty who comes in clutch. He looked at Juicebox and says, "You're not the only one with a bomb in this town," and that's going to be a quick fight win for the defense. Monty, please, he has a family, as he's thrown in the trash. Oh dear. Well, this is not looking too pretty for Engage, as they have really no ultimates. Optical Crash once again trying to build up to that attack visor, and he's the closest one to it, but I mean, he didn't have that much luck last time around. Yeah, no, he's just trying to get up to that high ground. He's built up to his ultimate, but now how is he going to use it? Everyone just runs away. Okay, Laser took a Helix Rocket to the face, but a nice boop from Epic Shock prevents him from taking out Kareem. The res comes in. They might lose their Wrecking Ball, but they do have a Valking Mercy in the meantime. And Monty just causing more ruckus in the backline. Juicebox is out of mech, and basically no tanks on the side of Engage. As I say that, Marlin comes back. And just as quickly goes away again. He's just dying off of respawn. It's not necessarily his fault. This is rough. There's no other way to put it. This is rough for Engage. This does not look like the team that dominantly won 2 maps. And now once again you have Melbourne Midnights coming up onto multiple ultimates. Engage really is only going to have a couple. You know, they're building up to that rally, sure, but it's really just the Minefield and the Transcendence, but they're going to have to wait a little bit longer for that Transcendence. What do you do here if you're Engage? I mean, you just need to prevent this flank from Monty and Epic Shock, and they're playing exactly like you're supposed to. Like I said before, the way you play these Wrecking Ball compositions is to take out your opponents mid-rotation. And they just came alive. Oh dear, I don't even know what happened there, but it was good for Melbourne, as we're in last fight territory for this point, and potentially for this map. If they can't capture this point, getting dicey. But once again, Engage at the very least took that last fight with very few ultimates outside of a Pulse Bomb, I believe, unless Madsen swapped from something to the Tracer, I don't recall. They're going to have the rally, so a little bit more chunk to them. Bomb coming in from Juicebox. Can he pull out another? Miracle, not quite the case. Laser cleaning up house. That's both tanks now gone with less than 5 seconds remaining. We're going to be hitting overtime. And that is going to be a pause. Must have been an automatic. Epic Shock getting DC'd. Bring it back to the caster camera for just a moment here while we wait for that to come into play. But I mean, they have like 5 minutes of pause time, technically 10 minutes if Engage wants to give them their pause time as well. And it's looking dicey. Like, Zimzif does have that transcendence, but Kareem's rally had just worn out, currently stunned up by something, I'm not sure what. The screen is just fuzzy for me, and I'm looking at it from Goth Girl's perspective. Actually, I can bring you back into the game just to show you what I'm seeing. So, I mean, we have... Okay, it looks like Epic Shock is back in because the loading thing is gone. Just to confirm that, yeah, join the game. Just, whoop. There. Okay, so we have Epic Shock back. Gonna have to swap over to the Wrecking Ball, however they do have the spawn advantage. Just barely, though. It's about even, give or take. Transcendence does come out, and Goth Girl doesn't really have that anti-nade quite yet. Now they do, so this could get a little bit dicey. Marlin does find Mani. But Optical Crash is so dangerously low. He's antied on 1 HP with the Tactical Visor. Still decides to pop it. I respect the gall of this man, but doesn't find anything. He has not had luck on this soldier whatsoever this series. Trying to find Goth Girl, but not quite the case. Getting pressured down. Assassin bolts. Bomb coming in. Will find Zimzif. The post bomb will take out Optical Crash, who was not expecting that to be there, and this is looking like death row for Engage. Yep, that's gonna be Melbourne Midnights still in the series. Ignore the Engage thing, they got the lobby names wrong, it's fine. Melbourne Midnights take that. It almost has to be Juicebox, yeah. He steals 2 play the games in a row. And there's nothing more to it, man. I mean, 3K plus a Bob with a singular bomb? What more could you ask for? Gnarly stuff, even if it didn't net them the win. That is Melbourne Midnight's potential reverse sweep, question mark. It's, not much more to say about that, man. I left it all on the table there in the map itself. Now we're going to be going over to 2CP, potentially drawable. I'm sure these teams would love nothing less than to draw and draw out this series that much longer. I'm sure they would love to just someone win the map. If I recall, the choices are Hanamura, Anubis, and Volskaya, right? Took me a second. There's only 3 technical maps, if you don't count Horizon and Paris, although we might be allowing Horizon for the second half because people seem to really want that. I don't know. Either way, looks like Temple of Anubis is going to be the next pick, and we have a swap coming in for Engage. Harry, 93-94 coming in for Zimzif. On the flex support, I'm presuming. Probably a specialty there, might be like their BAP specialist. Because Baptiste is quite the pick here on Temple of Anubis. You don't really ever need to swap off of him. Looks like Melbourne is opting to defend. He's going to be swapping sides once again. Right after Jowsy remembered to change the names of the teams. And yeah, looks like Temple of Anubis is locked in. Just gonna Let them know that production is ready. And make a few quick changes to the stream kit. There we go, cool. All right, yeah, so I'm not really sure what to expect here. If I was Laser, I would just stick on the Ash. Totally viable on basically both points of this map. No reason not to play the Ash, especially after the performance of last time. Now, if you're Engage, do you go back to the Pharah? You know, put Matson on the Pharah, Optical Crash, maybe on like the Tracer, and just try to run the Wrecking Ball compositions? Or do you try to run like a Junkrat, maybe? Midnights, I think their DPS can literally just stay on like the Tracer and the Ash. They were popping the hell off. Everyone else might need to swap around a little bit. You can run the Wrecking Ball comps, but they get a little bit awkward on second point unless you really know how to play them, which I guess depending on if Route 66 was just a fluke or not, you might be able to see them pull out the same discipline. But be interesting to see. There is, of course, the looming threat of Engage still on match point, up 2-1 now in the series, but Midnights had one hell of a showing. I'm going to be honest, Route 66 just came out of nowhere. Despite some hero plays from individual members of Engage, it just wasn't enough. You know, they just didn't find the value. In particular, it felt like Optical Crash and Matson were quieter than they were in, say, Lijiang Tower, and even to an extent King's Row, where they had a much larger impact. I'd have to go back and look at the stats. It's hard to read on the fly, but I mean, yeah, they just didn't show up in the kill feed that much. Optical Crash swapped over to Soldier quite a lot, found zero value from it, which sounds mean, but at the same time, like, you had one attack visor that you got slept out of, and then the 0.5 seconds he had left of it, it gets eaten by Assassin Bolts. And then the next one, everyone just runs away. And the next one, everyone just kind of runs away. And the one person you're shooting is eating it up anyways. So it's rough. You know, I don't think the Soldier is the pick in that case. It's one of those high risk, high reward options where it gives a good consistent source of damage, but you need the follow-up, and that just wasn't happening from the rest of Engage, and that's on them, right? As a team, they need to focus fire. It didn't feel like they were really getting those kills necessary outside of huge hero plays, like the 3K bomb from Juicebox or whatnot, and you can't rely on those to win. It is worth noting, however, though, that no matter what, Melbourne comes out of this series with a positive map differential still, because the worst they can lose is 3-1, which would bring them down to a +1 map differential. But I'm sure they would love to bring that up to a +4 and reverse sweep, which I'm sure Engage would absolutely despise, going to another map 5 or 6 and losing yet again. That would be like a potentially a season booming event, you know, to have that happen twice. I don't think the beach ball was a reverse sweep. I don't think we've had any reverse sweeps yet. But it would be tragic for Engage. It would be incredible for Midnights. It looks like we are going to be going in now, finally. Really making me stall there for a time. But here we are. Again, the only substitution coming in is Harry for Engage. You can see over on the far right-hand side, I'm assuming for something like a Baptiste, because that's something that we haven't seen from them quite yet. I wouldn't be shocked to see some Bunker as well, but no, these teams have apparently made a gentleman's agreement to just not play Orisa. Of course, the Wrecking Ball is totally viable on this map as well, so probably what they're comfortable with. Seeing a little bit of a different look here for Engage on the offense at the very least. Matson on the Echo. A little bit different than the Pharah, but more universally viable. Pharah gets a little bit dicey on the second point, so I can't blame him for that. Optical Crash back on that Tracer. And interestingly, Harry on the Zenyatta, or at least teasing it. Still have time to swap, but no, it looks like they're sticking at it. Be interesting to see what the difference is between Harry and Zimzif, because they both played Zenyatta. Very far setup, far back setup, I should say, from Melbourne. Looks like they're giving a little bit more space and waiting for something to happen from Epic Shock, and something certainly did happen because they've already forced out the Resurrection, Mani, and Epic Shock. Pumping in damage left and right, trying to prevent anything from happening mid-rotation. And now they have to deal with these members of Melbourne on the high ground. Heal coming in for Laser. Assassin Bolt doing a great job there. Getting D-Mexed, but I'm not sure how much it really matters. Assassin Bolt's getting melted by Matson. Stratocaster as well falling there. Matson just patiently waiting. I don't know if they realize that the Echo is behind them, but with full HP now, Goth Girl getting into a dangerous position. But Epic Shock's still there to guard the point, and Mani also somewhere in the midst of all the chaos. Goth Girl still not really pressured out. Looks like Matson wants to find them, but not having any luck. Kareem, you can't res yourself. This is just feeling awkward for Engage. It feels like their engages are sloppy. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel as clean and clinical as they were on Lijiang Tower. I think they've definitely been losing a bit of momentum here since Route 66, and while losing, Mani isn't great. Harry is arguably more valuable target here as Epic Shock just running amok. Still has the minefield, both support ultimates as well, and Kareem has to swap off of that Mercy with just 2 minutes remaining. This is not looking too hot for Engage. I mean, you can't allow this reverse sweep to happen, surely. Mani, I can see setting up. Bit of a cheeky flank. No pulse bomb. Oh dear, they was scouted out immediately, but will make it out alive. Good reflexes there. I believe Juicebox saw him on the flank as well. And Laser, lasering down Optical Crash, not allowed to exist in this server. Yet again, the anti-nade coming in from Goth Girl, now worn off, but it caused a lot of pressure and time to be taken off the clock. It's looking pretty darn good for Melbourne as long as they don't choke it out. Which, I mean, they did in the earlier maps of the series, but they certainly did not for Route 66. That was disgusting, Mani. Please. It's just a slaughter fest. Sounds like a metal festival, but you get the idea. Oh, Mani, don't do it to him. Don't do it to him. Oh no, it was scouted out pretty easily there. Mani, about half HP with very few blinks, but at the same time, his team's doing perfectly fine on points. No pressure whatsoever, and Juicebox not allowed to remech. 1 fight remaining, and look at the ultimates. 10 ultimates on the board, and if you're engaged, you have to invest not everything. You have to invest at most maybe 3 ultimates. One of those, thankfully, is Harry's Transcendence, so they can survive a little bit, barring a really nice anti-nade, which has happened multiple times this series, but now Mani has to play a little bit more cautiously. Oh no, that's such an early Transcendence. They're not even on the point. The anti-nade coming in onto Kareem, already half HP. He's 1 HP, and Epic Shock closes out. No supports whatsoever. Juicebox, I don't think he can pull out a miracle that many times. It only takes down Laser's Bob, which is not exactly the highest value of target, specifically when he wasn't even on point. The kills are coming in left and right, and despite Mani running into a mine there, it's not looking too hot for Engage. This is looking like an extremely holdable and capturable situation for Melbourne. Kareem not allowed to touch, and with just less than 50% of the point captured, it's going to take one hell of a defense by Engage to prevent a potential reverse sweep, because it's looking all the more like Melbourne is trying to make that dream a reality. Maybe Engage is just cursed to go to long series. Who knows? But either way, it's going to be on Melbourne. This is do or die. This is no longer drawable. You either capture 45.21% or you go home losing 3-1. That is certainly not what they want. But given the fact that this is the composition they've been just decimating on since Route 66, I'm not too concerned that this is more than likely going to a map 5. But of course nothing is certain, so there is of course that potential. I am of course worried though. Looking at Engage, they're sticking with this composition, the Wrecking Ball comps. They have not had too much luck on them the last couple maps, and Mattson being on Widowmaker, I'm not sure if that's the answer. Optical Crash has just been getting outclassed by Mani on the Tracer. And then the supports have just been getting melted by Mani. Despite Kareem trying his darndest to bodyguard Harry, it's just not working because an anti-nade comes in from Goth Girl. They have to notice the Wrecking Ball here. Please, Marlon can't be allowed to go. Okay, well. That was a thing. That was a shot. Oh, okay, Mattson. Chill. Stop pumping the Addy. Or maybe keep pumping the Addy. I don't know. Whatever helps you win this map. Epic Shock getting a little bit low there, but will get out with his life and then some. That's quite the health bar. What was that? Laser isn't used to taking on this Widowmaker, and the res is not up quite yet for Stratocaster. You can see on the stats on the left side now it is, but I mean, do they want to res that? Probably not. Laser now on the Widowmaker, and he's done some disgusting things on this hero in seasons past. Already trying to scout it out. Keeping an eye out. Ooh, dangerous stuff. Oh, the dink, but not the kill. But Assassin Bolt is there to disregard the 1v1 and say, no, let's just continue on to map 5 with ease. Goth Girl not feeling any pressure whatsoever. Assassin Bolt brought out of mech, but doesn't matter when it's really just Optical Crash on this point. No one is even remotely close. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to a map 5. Engage is officially cursed. At least they're not cursed to go to a map 6. That is now an impossibility. This is, I believe, the 3rd out of 4 play of the games being from a diva. I forget what the first play of the game was. Unleashing it might have also been. But either way, wait, I would not have expected after map 2 that this could have been a possibility, but I'm very glad that it is. This has been one hell of a series thus far, and we've still got one more map to go to take all the marbles. One of these teams will be. So stick with us, because we'll be back in 5 minutes or less. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're not getting into the game quite yet, but I wanted to give you a bit of an update on the other games, in particular the Louisiana Lobsters versus Blind Eye Society game. 3-0 for Louisiana Lobsters. I was not expecting that, but I'm extremely glad to see that the struggling team from the early portion of the season is now 1-1 with a 0 map differential. That's quite a good position to be in. As well as the other stream, which you may or may not have up on another tab or another screen, is Meerkat Collapse up 2-1 over Beach Ball. So at the very least, that game is going on a little bit more slowly than this one. But either way, this is turning into quite the series we have here. Oasis is going to be the final battleground for these two teams to duke it out. Engage desperately going to be trying to prevent that reverse sweep. Midnights really want that second win, right? If they can go 2-0, they are all but guaranteed a position in the top 2 and get past the quarterfinals automatically for the first mid-season tournament, which I'm sure they would love to have that free point in the standings. Right, if you go on to the schedule, you can see the top 2 spots in each split are highlighted green. That means those 2 spots move past the quarterfinals immediately to the semifinals. And then the first place spot will get the chance to choose their semifinals opponents. Whereas, obviously, if you're third place for the quarterfinals, you'll get to choose your opponent. The other 2 teams face each other and semifinals, etc., etc. All stuff that should be listed in the rulebook. I'm pretty sure I think I wrote that in there even. Either way, we do have these teams just getting ready. I'm sure Engage is Engage is ready. Melbourne is the one we're waiting on, but I'm sure Engage is just trying to calm everyone down, say, okay, look, we practiced this, don't freak out, it's gonna be okay, just gotta win 2 rounds of control. You've already done that this series. They won Lijiang Tower, and this is their map pick. So, who knows? Could be a denial of the reverse sweep. Could be Melbourne shooting up in the standings and proving that 3-0ing the Lobsters was not a fluke, and they are the best team in this division. We are getting into the games, ladies and gentlemen. University is the name of this round. Potentially getting to see Gardens or Downtown, or City Center, I believe it's called, later on. But for now, we're on University, famous for being the Reinhardt map. But will these teams want to run that? Might be the case. They are still in spawn for another 25-ish seconds, so they can swap if they so desire. But I get the feeling this is going to be what we see, and I believe this is the first time we're seeing like true Reinhardt's play. We saw it briefly on King's Row, but they pretty quickly swapped over to the Wrecking Ball, if memory serves. Also worth noting that Harry is now swapped out for Zimzif on the side of Engage. Both teams using the Symmetra teleport and actually sticking with the Symmetra as well. Complete mirror compositions as both teams go head first towards each other, but it looks like Engage gets the better positioning, just a little bit faster. Optical Crash booped down to the low ground, with Marlin getting walled off, but not quite in a terrible position. Laser finding Madsen, so that will be the first blood here. Zimzif also without that immortality field, so a lot less sustainability in favor of Melbourne as they take this first capture. The momentum is building slowly but surely, and Gothgirl and Zimzif already have their windows. I would expect Zimzif to use it almost immediately, because why wouldn't you? Probably right after they get through this doorway. Sure enough, I know my stuff, and they have to back up to point. But that was a beautiful disengage from the Midnights to get out of the way. Nice wall, gives them a little bit of reprieve from the oncoming damage, and now the window of their own. That May wall caught a little bit in front of where it wanted to be, so it just gets melted. Blizzard coming in, it does not get eaten, and Madsen is very much in trouble. Zimzif falling just prior to that. I don't think anyone from Midnight has actually died yet. Yeah, that is not the... Midnights have 0 deaths right now from what I'm seeing. It's a little bit hard to tell sometimes because the stats are off-put a little bit. But yeah, the Melbourne Midnights are currently on 0 deaths. What a world we live in, ladies and gentlemen. Engage still has plenty of time to take this around, let alone this map. But it's getting a little bit dicey with a Shatter coming in for Epic Shock. He gets at least 3 people on the ground. 5-man Shatter, but the beat was there. Bomb from Juicebox coming in clutch once again. And that's going to be Engage taking it, but they're on 1-fight territory, more or less. It's like a fight and a half. No, never mind. It's 1-fight territory now. It's 80%. A good stall there from Stratocaster just to get everything moving along. And they're going to have the bomb, and that's about it. Engage has nothing. They have nil, nada. They need to win this in the neutral fight, and Zimziv needs to build up to that window really fast. Bomb coming in, will not find anything, getting caught up rather far in the corner there, and Epic Shock walled off and melted. If you're Melbourne right now, you just need to back up. You have plenty of time. You have like 2 to 3 more fights, probably closer to 2 fights if I'm being honest. The speed at which they're taking them to before the control percentage moves up to the 80% that Melbourne captured. And outside of the window, which they themselves have, Melbourne doesn't really need to worry about much from Engage. Beautiful rotation, nice teleporter as well back to the points. If they can avoid getting the Blizzard eaten, Mani could be getting good positioning here. Someone fell down. I think that was Marlin. It was Marlin and Matson as well. Awkward positions here. Distinct man advantage for Midnights as they're finding the kills. Remember, folks, they're in 1-fight territory. Engage might be able to get a stall in, but it's gonna get dicey. This is dangerous, as well as the fact that Epic Shock and Stratocaster still have their ultimates. Optical Crash does have that Blizzard Wish here in Overwatch 1. That's still one of, if not the best ultimates in the game. It's a fight-winning ultimate by itself. But Assassin Bolt has the potential to eat it, so let's see what happens here. He's looking for freeze before going for it. Not really finding much. Juicebox looking for a bomb. Will take out Mani. The Blizzard is good. Shatter coming in will find 2, but the Blizzard is denying much from happening. 99%, but Melbourne can't close it out quite yet. They're gonna have to disengage. There's no reason to stall anymore. And Assassin Bolt just has to jump off the edge. And they got about 2 to 1.5 more fights. Mani swapping over to the Doomfist, interesting, but at the same time, he certainly wasn't close to another Blizzard, so why not go for that 1-hit kill potential? I really can't blame him in this case. With Assassin Bolt coming up onto that self-destructing Goth Girl, going to be building up to that window mid-fight very fast, early mid-fight. Zimziv is going to be the primary target to take out. If you're Mani, you cannot allow the Amplification Matrix to find too much value. Already out, though, looking for something. Will find Kareem immediately. Mani pumping in damage left and right. Will fall for their efforts, but Assassin Bolt tossing the bomb onto point. That will melt a good portion of Marlin's shield, and sure enough, they get up to 99%, but this feels like a reversal of what happened on Lijiang Tower Night Market. Because this is so in favor of Melbourne Midnights, and they cannot touch. 1 round away from the reverse sweep, ladies and gentlemen. Melbourne Midnights trying to make that dream a reality. Engage desperately clawing onto the hope of not losing in another Map 5 Plus series. You have to feel for them, but at the same time, their destiny is in their own hands. They just have to seize it in these next 2 rounds, because if they don't take City Center right here and now, they go home and down 0 to 2. 2 losses, which is definitely going to put them in the bottom portion of the mid-season tournament, the first mid-season tournament, I should say. These splits are not cumulative like the Overwatch League, so this does not affect their second split, just the first one. Either way, well, they do get into, everyone gets into this mid-season splits. You want a higher place in the standings. That means you could potentially choose your opponent. Laser annihilating Kareem, who stood no chance against the shotguns of the Reaper guy. Laser still hungry for more, but I don't think there's any more to be had. The appetite is not satiated, but he has to wait for respawn timers to get there. And I'm feeling quite a bit of momentum behind Melbourne. This is an entirely different team than what we saw in Kings Row and Lijiang Tower. Route 66, something flipped that switch, because Melbourne has just been on a different speed since then. Laser and Goth Curl mirroring their ultimate charge. And those are two scary ultimates at this state in the game. Optical Crash barely over half of what Laser has. Coalescence is coming out, but the Death Blossom to complement Laser not really finding anything, but Kareem will fall to the Coalescence. The pincer move, as it were. Marlin trying to make something of this desperate situation with the Primal Rage, but there's only so much a lone Angry Monkey can do. And this just is not working for Engage. Something is not clicking. They're not focusing targets properly, and while they have the EMP Death Blossom, Melbourne has the EMP Bomb and the beat. Kareem is not quite there yet, and while they can take a little bit of time, EMP coming in, Optical Crash gone mid. Death Blossom and Matson's EMP finds very little value. Juicebox's bomb not finding much, but the remake actually finding a little bit. We're already getting into like a fight and a half territory here, folks. And by the time they clear off Assassin Bolt and get the points in earnest, it's going to be... Oh, dear, Stratocaster is still stalling on point. This is certainly one fight territory, and sure enough, it is. This feels like a repeat of last round. But who knows if Engage can claw their way to victory. They really only have the Coalescence, and Goth Girl is that much closer to it. Granted, they're going to both have it by the time the fight really breaks out. Zimzif getting the first Coalescence, but that means that Goth Girl's going to have a better value because it lasts longer in this fight. Bomb thrown in from Assassin Bolts will not find anything, but it assists in the zoning that leads to the death of Kareem. Marlin has to jump out, has another Primal Rage, opts to use it here, but his teammates are falling left and right. They have EMP Blossom if they so need it. Melbourne does, but they don't need it. They don't... Oh, dear. They use the EMP anyways? I'm not sure quite why. Matson now back on the Sombra himself. Looking for something, but there's only so much that can be done. The point almost flipped over. Just had to clear off Kareem there. And they didn't even get... They barely got half of what Melbourne has. They still have the Death Blossom. They have the Primal Rage. And it's really just going to be Matson with that EMP. But a lone EMP doesn't do much when the team isn't there to capitalize on it, and Engage has been struggling with the target focus. EMP comes in, but it misses Laser. Epic Shock is actually the one with the Primal Rage to find a kill onto Zimzif. Kareem will find Bonnie, but it doesn't really matter when the kills are coming in left and right. A desperation beat from Kareem onto himself and Matson, but there's only so much that a Sombra and Lucio can do. Goth Girl with the Coalescence to finish it out, and the reverse sweep is done. Midnight's 2-0 in the season standings, all but secured in the top 2 spots of the first split. Marlin actually getting play of the game this time around, despite not winning the series nor the map. But this was a really nice shatter. I do have to admit that, ladies and gentlemen, was quite a series, but stick around because I'm going to try and get someone from Melbourne for an interview. We'll be right back in a few minutes. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Quite the series. Looks like the stream is just catching up to the closing of the map 5 there. I'm here with the main support from Melbourne, Stratocaster. How you feeling after that game?
I'm feeling good. Glad we won. It wasn't looking too good after those first two maps, but we stayed strong, played to our strengths, kind of just let Laser cook a little bit, and in the end, it ended up working.
So I am curious, like what do you say was the big difference between Kings Row and Route 66? Because to me, it looked like there was just some kind of switch that was flipped, and you guys just pumped it into gear 11.
Well, really, we kind of just, I feel like we woke up more. The first two maps, we didn't have a lot of comms. We were all just kind of staying quiet. But on Route 66, we started, waking up, started talking a bit more, and that's when our team, like, cohesion really worked, and it really clicked. And I feel like that was kind of the big shift that allowed us to come back in the series. It kept our mentals up. People like Steven are looking for Goth Girl. And, Mani, who doesn't normally play DPS, but Swifters was gone, so Mani really stepped up today. They kind of helped us to come back into this. So, yeah, that's really the big thing.
Wait, so Mani isn't like a normal DPS player for you guys?
Well, Mani does come in for DPS sometimes, but normally we play Swifter's Laser. But,
Okay.
Mani, they popped off, and honestly, probably better than some of the other starting DPS in the league.
Yeah, that wow, that's just shocking to me that Mani isn't like the normal starter. That's hilarious though. I guess I guess my next question would have to be, like, you guys looked like you were pretty darn coordinated by the time like map 5 rolled around. Like, what's your comm structure like in general? Normally it's like main take, main support, but some teams sometimes have like DPS calling. Just curious.
Well, yeah, you kind of nailed it right on the head. We lean on Epic Shock. He was our first round pick. He's been so dominant, and he really comes out with these calls that allow us to, you know, figure out what we're doing, but really like evenly. Sometimes we'll have like Laser call what he wants to do, and then we'll do that, like go fast with Blossom here, or we'll have one of our other people call if they think we should do something else. But really, it is all on the main man, Epic Shock himself. And then sometimes, it doesn't work out like that. But Epic Shock, he's the best comms guy you could ask for.
And actually, speaking of Epic Shock, in seasons past, he's mostly been known as like that Reinhardt guy. Of course, he's been capable of playing other tanks, but it was interesting to see you guys play so much Wrecking Ball. Is that just something that clicked early on? Is that something that you've like sussed out as the meta, or just like something that worked and you just kept doing it?
Well, when we do that, we kind of put everyone on their comfort picks, and when we scrim this comp, it's just really fun, and we're doing good at it. We've played most of the other teams in scrims, and we've done extremely well. And Epic Shock's ball, it's crazy. You got Laser on the Ash, you got the other DPS on the Tracer, whether that be Mani or Swifters. Mani does usually play more of the Tracer for us, but then you have Assassin Bolt who can play either the Sig or the Diva. We were playing more Diva today because they ran some Pharah. And then you have both Monarch and Mint or Goth Girl, looking for whatever, who are both extremely good at the Ana or the Zen. So it really plays to our comforts, and it's just kind of what we figured out we want to play, and it's pretty good.
All right, so I do have one more question for you. Let me just pull up the schedule real quick because I forget who you guys play next week. But after two pretty interesting games, obviously you went up against and just swept the Lobsters last weekend, Nailbiter this weekend, and next week you're facing Meerkat Collapse. How are you feeling about them?
Well, I actually have a couple of friends on that team. Michael's on that team, and so is Slimewall. I know both of them pretty well. And, you know, we're thinking that they might be one of the dark horses to really come back and win this. Maybe this whole thing. They've got big pieces like Reborn's on that team. I know, and he's one of the best PS I've ever seen. So looking, that might be just as close of a game as this one was. I don't think it'll be like reverse sweep closer, but it should be fun, and I think that they have a lot of the good pieces to, beat us. But in the end, I think we're the Midnights. We're gonna.
All right. Actually, quick score update for you and anyone on the stream wondering. Meerkat Collapse is currently up 2-1 versus Beach Ball. And it looks like the score is currently 5-4 on Anubis. That's got to be cancer. Okay, well, I won't keep you any longer, Stratocaster. So if you have any final statements or shout outs you want to give, the floor is yours.
Glory to the Louisiana Lobsters.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning into this stream. Go check out the main channel if you haven't already. That game's still going on. And until tomorrow, I guess, when we have the advanced games, that's all we have for tonight. So have a good one.